Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We'll be checking out a video titled How American Police Compare to Police in Europe. Off the bat, I can say this. I'm fortunate enough to actually be living in Europe, but I've never actually had an interaction with police in Finland because that's where I'm living in Europe. I've never had an interaction with the police in Finland, unfortunately, or fortunately, I should say. But neither have I had a negative experience with American police either. However, I have seen American police, doing things that, man, scared me. Watching from, the sideline, I'm like, please don't shoot, please don't, please, and you're praying, you know what I mean? But I've definitely seen Finnish police, dealing with Finnish people, and it's always been something that is way chill, in my humble opinion. But obviously, this video should show different European countries and so on and so forth. So you guys can let me know your experiences with European police because I don't have that much experience, but I can definitely tell you in America, you got good and you got bad cops, and you guys just hope that you experience the good ones. But anyways, guys, thank you for watching. If you have any recommendations, leave us in the comment section down below, or probably click that link in the pinned comment section where you can recommend videos using the Google form, and I'll check that out as soon as possible. Without further ado, man, let's check out this video.
We've all seen the headlines, the viral videos, the heated debates. American police, a force of good or a force of fear? As we delve deeper into the world of law enforcement, we'll uncover surprising differences between the US and Europe that might just change your perspective. Militarization, a unique American phenomenon. One of the most striking differences between American and European police forces is the level of militarization. In the US, many police departments, even in smaller towns, have access to military-grade equipment like armored vehicles, assault rifles, and drones, largely due to federal grants and a post-9/11 security mindset. This militarization has sparked concerns about excessive force and damaged relations between police and communities, particularly in marginalized areas. In contrast, European police forces generally adopt a more restrained approach. While some countries like France or Spain have specialized counterterrorism units, most European officers are equipped with less aggressive tools and focus on de-escalation, community policing, and non-lethal tactics. Training duration, a marathon versus a sprint. One of the most striking differences between US and European police forces is the length and depth of police training. In the United States, becoming a police officer often involves anywhere between 18 to 30 weeks of training at a police academy. This training is largely focused on physical fitness, firearms proficiency, and basic law enforcement tactics. While it's intense, it pales in comparison to the training that officers in many European countries undergo. In Europe, police officers typically train for much longer periods, often between 2 and 3 years before they're fully ready to hit the streets. For example, in Germany,
Certified like a whole degree. I love that.
Police recruits undergo approximately 3 years of rigorous training, which includes everything from law to psychology and conflict de-escalation techniques. Similarly, in the UK, police officers typically complete a 2-year probationary period, which includes comprehensive classroom instruction, on-the-job training, and ongoing assessments. This longer, more intensive training in Europe ensures that officers are better equipped to handle the complex nature of law enforcement, especially when it comes to understanding legal frameworks, dealing with mental health issues, and managing high-stress situations without the immediate use of force. Police accountability, transparency, and oversight. Police accountability is a hot topic in both the US and Europe, but the systems for ensuring it are quite different. In the US, there are often calls for police reform and greater oversight, especially following controversial incidents of police misconduct. While there are mechanisms for accountability, such as body cameras, civilian oversight boards, and internal investigations, the process is often seen as opaque and lacking in consistent results. In Europe, however, many countries have more robust oversight systems in place, particularly when it comes to police conduct. For example, in the UK, the Independent Office for Police Conduct, IOPC, is an independent body that investigates complaints against the police and ensures transparency in the system. In Norway, public trust in law enforcement is bolstered by independent review processes that allow citizens to file complaints and hold officers accountable for misconduct. Moreover, in countries like Sweden and the Netherlands, police misconduct is treated with the utmost seriousness, and officers found guilty of abuse or corruption are often swiftly held accountable through internal or external investigations, ensuring greater public trust in the police force. The role of technology, surveillance versus privacy. In recent
That's a very important thing, honestly, and I think he clearly mentioned it. But in the United States, it's way too easy to get away with bad things as a police officer. It's way too easy, and I think a lot of police officers just do bad things because they have so many people who are gonna, agree to it. So, for example, if something happens, let's say, somebody was driving, they pull him over and they shoot him, right? All the cop got to say is, "Oh, he was reaching for his gun." When technically, just because there potentially is a weapon in the car, or some thought that, oh yeah, he might have a gun, he just shoots him, right? And most people are gonna be like, "Well, he has to make sure that he doesn't get hurt," you know. But the thing is, at the end of the day, the thing is with American police, there's a major issue, and it's the gun control. The guns that are just all over in the United States is a big, it's a big problem, because the truth is, if you're a cop and you pull up to somebody, the assumption that they might have a gun is very real in the United States. But in Europe, if you assume that a European has a weapon, something's wrong with you. You know what I mean? So it's a tough topic, man. I hate it.
recent years, both U.S. and European police forces have begun utilizing advanced technology to aid in law enforcement. However, there's a stark difference in how technology is used and regulated. In the U.S., surveillance tools such as facial recognition technology, drones, and predictive policing algorithms are being employed by law enforcement agencies, sometimes with little regulation or oversight. This has raised concerns about privacy rights, particularly in light of incidents where these technologies have been used disproportionately against minority communities. On the other hand, in Europe, the use of surveillance technology is subject to strict data protection laws, such as the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR. European countries are much more cautious about the collection and use of personal data, and any surveillance activities are heavily scrutinized for their legality and necessity. The European Union has set high standards for police use of technology, often prioritizing individual privacy and freedoms over the unchecked expansion of surveillance tools. Policing and mental health. A major difference in approach. Policing in the U.S. often places a heavy burden on officers to handle a wide range of situations, including mental health crises. Unfortunately, the lack of proper training or resources can result in tragic outcomes, with police responding to mental health-related incidents with force instead of care. In the U.S., over 1 in 5 fatal police shootings involve individuals with mental health issues. In Europe, however, mental health training is often integrated into police education from the outset. Countries like Finland and the Netherlands have implemented specialized training and units to deal with mental health emergencies in a way that emphasizes care and understanding rather than punitive measures. In Finland, for example, officers are trained to recognize signs of mental distress and are equipped to handle situations calmly and effectively, often working in tandem with healthcare professionals to avoid violent escalation. Moreover, several European countries have separate mental health response teams that operate alongside the police, ensuring that individuals experiencing a crisis receive the appropriate care.
That's really beautiful, because there has been a lot of cases in the United States where people with disabilities, not necessarily mental, but disabilities of any sort, where they cannot communicate properly, or they're not able to follow commands, and they got shot or something of the sort like that. So it's good that Europe actually gives the police a lot longer period to actually learn how to interact with civilians, because come on, man, life, you cannot get a life back. So the most you can do is try to understand it as best as possible,
Rather than being incarcerated or subjected to force. Civilian oversight. a patchwork system in the US. Civilian oversight of police is a crucial check on power, but its implementation varies widely across the US. Some states have robust civilian review boards with investigative and disciplinary authority, while others rely on internal affairs units within police departments. This patchwork system can lead to inconsistencies in accountability. In Europe, civilian oversight is often more centralized and standardized. Independent police complaints commissions or inspectorates have the power to investigate misconduct, recommend disciplinary action, and even refer cases to prosecutors. Policing culture, community versus authority. Another key difference between US and European police forces is their overall relationship with the public. In the US, policing often has an authoritarian undertone. The term us versus them is a common sentiment, where officers view themselves as protectors of the public, often positioning themselves above the citizens they serve. This mentality can sometimes lead to a more confrontational approach in interactions with the public. In contrast, European policing tends to have a more community-oriented approach. The philosophy of policing by consent is central to many European nations, particularly in the UK. British police, for example, pride themselves build trust with citizens through transparency, respect, and communication. This approach fosters a sense of collaboration, where police officers are seen as problem solvers rather than enforcers of law and order. The difference in police culture often extends to how police officers engage with protests, public gatherings, and civil disobedience. In the US, large-scale protests have sometimes led to violent clashes with law enforcement, with police using riot gear, tear gas, and rubber bullets to disperse crowds. On the other hand, European police forces are more likely to use dialogue, negotiation, and a gradual response to maintain order in similar situations. In countries like the Netherlands and Spain, for example, public protests are often managed by officers who engage in conversation with protest leaders to prevent violence before it escalates. Public perception and trust. Finally, the public perception of the police is shaped by the differences in their training, tactics, and oversight. In the US, trust in police is a complex and often contentious issue. Incidents of police violence, particularly against Black Americans, have eroded public confidence in law enforcement, especially in communities of color. Movements like Black Lives Matter have highlighted the need for police reform, including changes to how officers are trained, how they interact with the public, and how accountability is handled. However, some communities in the US still have a high level of trust in their local police, and efforts to improve police-community relations continue across the country. In Europe, public trust in police tends to be higher on average. While there are certainly instances of unrest
What community you talking about, big dog? What community?
or dissatisfaction with law enforcement, particularly in countries like France and Spain, where protests against police violence have occurred, the overall perception of police is generally more positive. This is largely due to the emphasis on community engagement, lower levels of militarization, and more robust accountability mechanisms. However, European police are not without their own challenges, particularly when it comes to issues like immigration, police brutality, and protests.
All I can say is, ain't no way that y'all doing that to American cops. They gonna pull that thing out of you dying on the spot, boy. It's just the truth. It's sad, but it's the truth.
While both American and European police forces aim to maintain public safety, their approaches to policing, use of force, community engagement, and accountability differ significantly. American police forces tend to be more heavily armed, more focused on immediate law enforcement, and face greater challenges related to accountability. European police forces, on the other hand, often have longer training periods, emphasize community engagement and de-escalation, and generally have stronger oversight mechanisms. Understanding these differences is crucial not only for comparing policing strategies, but also for ongoing discussions about the future of law enforcement in both regions. Enjoyed the video? Give it a thumbs up, share with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing content.
I mean, wasn't a bad video, but the truth is, at the end of the day, is a few things that was mentioned in the video. The training period. Honestly, I think American training period should be longer than European training period. Why? The only reason I think American cops need to be trained longer and not similar to European police is simply this. In Europe, the most dangerous thing that a normal civilian likely will have on average is a knife, right? In the United States, high powered weapons can be in, American citizens can be in possession of high powered weapons, which means that, being a cop in the United States is a life and death situation in a higher percentage comparable to in European countries. So I think at the end of the day, training a police in the United States how to deal with the situation, how to recognize, right, how to calm a situation down, how to approach a situation a little bit better would be a lot more helpful. And the thing is, like, the advantage with Europe and European countries is the weapons. People are not just walking around with guns and so on and so forth, which then allows for the police to be a lot less on edge. So it's a tough one, because the facts are just the facts. There's a lot of American cops who are very brutal, very aggressive, very forceful, but at the same time, the environment also causes that, right? But then there's like this 10 to 20% additional force that doesn't need to be given. However, then in Europe, there's not any anxiety, I'd imagine, for a lot of these police, because they feel as if there's nothing that can really just take them out in a matter of seconds. Unlike in the United States, it's a complicated situation. But you guys can talk about this in the comment section with me, and we can have a discussion about this. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Please do like and subscribe. And yeah, I'm out of here. Peace.